In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A of all the questions you guys submitted to the request box. I just briefly looked this over and there's some gold in here. So I'm going to be going through things like how did I get my start in info, how I made my first 1 to 10K, what our biggest bottleneck is, the niche selection process, and so much more. Last year, we did $30 million in our info coaching business. We've now done $72 million in total cash collected, and I'm not selling you anything. Everything on the channel is to share what did work, what didn't work, and what we're actively doing to scale to $100 million a year, all with the goal of finding top talent, opportunities, and building a network of cool people doing cool shit. All right, so let's get into it. I have nicotine, I have caffeine, and this one might be a long one, but we're going to go deep. So the process of the WB, which is our main companies, come up, and how you met Nikki and Luke, which are the co-founders of this main company, the one I'm referring to above. When you knew this was going to happen to be the scale it was now, at what point you dropped out to make it happen. I didn't, but I'll talk about that. And just kind of the background curious. So the process of how that came to be, and I've talked about this in other things, but just so we can answer it here. Essentially, he met her in a gym and basically was helping her get clients, then joined the consulting.com program and learned how to basically make her the expert and do it through productized service. So build a course around her, all of that. Actually ended up the first core thing they started doing to actually make money was a low ticket monthly app. So like a 7-day free trial, $27 a month with an OTO for lifetime access, basically to like get the economics to work on the paid ads. But there was no ascension rung. So that only got to like 30, it was like 30K-ish up to like 100K a month. And that is around when I joined. So there was 3 to 5 people probably on there. There was like a billing admin and a community manager and then them. So they're going through a rebrand over to WB at the time. And that's when I came on. So when you knew, and then just like further into that, then Luke and I basically were like, how do we take this thing to 10 million? I was like, hey, we're already in this program. Let's do a call funnel. So we started selling an info product that they had already pre-built based on the consulting.com framework on how to build like a proper course, community, and like group coaching model. And we sold that for $500 over the phone, then quickly scaled that up to $1,000 lifetime access and then $1,500. And we were doing a ton of volume, and that's how we hit $1 million a month. And then we transitioned after 2 years of doing that. Basically, we did like 10 million and then 12 million-ish. And then after that, we moved over to one-to-one coaching and selling that, which has higher fulfillment costs. And I talk about that in the video. But that's how, with a higher ticket, we did a little less volume of units, but that's how we went from 12 to 30 million, roughly speaking. So now, when you knew this was going to be at the scale it was now, I didn't at all. So I came in and became an owner around that in like when we started selling over the phone time. It was basically like handshake deal. Honestly, a lot of this has been handshake deal between me and Luke and the rest of the team, but mainly me and Luke in that. So everything's been handshake deal and has always been good for in that way. And now it's like all full. But yeah, so I didn't really know that it was going to be at the scale it was at all. It was that, and candidly, I was doing a bunch of other stuff at the time. So I was randomly still, up until probably last year, I was still doing, and I still randomly do like random stuff in affiliate, random stuff in lead gen. I've never gotten anything off the ground myself, but I have done a lot with other people who crush it. I have run other people's offers that have, already have concept and proven, and just they need more eyes on ad accounts. I've run those. I've done a ton of stuff in tech, in affiliate lead gen world. I've done random stuff in e-com, some physical business stuff, but not really. Family has a business in there, but I don't like to be part of that because I want to try and like tread my own path. But yeah, so at what point you dropped out to make it happen? I didn't. So I went to college and was there for a year, but was in like class or school for the first semester. I dropped out right after the first semester, but I stayed in my dorm for the year because I had a scholarship program class that was 15 minutes every week, and I kept that one, so I technically was still enrolled. So I stayed there for a year. Rough point in life, but in December, so before the first year was or the first, I think I said quarter, but half or whatever, was over. I had already started up something in the finance world. So we were basically trying to be like private equity. I didn't even know what that meant then. But we were trying to be an independent sponsor and do a deal that was a roll up of like an alternative fitness business, like with physical locations that was in a franchise. Did a ton of stuff there, ended up actually moving out to California, trying to make that work. I could talk a bunch of random finance terms that I didn't understand then and barely do now, but all in all, deal exploded after we got all the final approvals. We got financing for debt and equity stack, all of that. And then it all exploded and fell through in the final hour because the businesses we were buying had across the board, like 9 of 12 locations had a downtrend in their EBITDA on the trailing 12, and the deal fell apart. So that would have made me a cash millionaire at that time. And I was probably 18 or 19. I was 19 at that point. It exploded and went home tail between my legs and basically started my live in a cave journey and don't be public about anything. So huge ego at that point, no skill, a lot of, just not great. So that is when everything kind of exploded for me. And then I started to learn the online stuff literally like the last week before I moved out from California and moved back home. So, and then, just kind of curious background. So that's it. So then there's a bunch of stuff in between there where I just tried online stuff of everything you can imagine, lead gen, affiliate. I was working, I actually came back and was working with my dad's company for a little bit for like, 30 grand a year or something for a bit. And then a bunch of stuff, bounced all over, tried all the online things, was making some money, was losing some money, just kind of no real anything there until I started doing some service work, things like building websites, running small things for ads, doing ClickFunnels, like sales page builds, funnel builds, stuff like that. So I'd go deeper into that in another video, but I'm already 5 minutes into one question. So would like you to go more in depth into tracking sheets, end of day, scorecards, and templates? I can talk on those quick, and then this is actually probably like a better full video. I have to figure out a way to, sorry, I'm looking at the data over here because I'm going to pull these up, but it's very difficult for me to show these without showing like the literal exact numbers. I give you guys so many numbers and percents and dollars and things, but like to show these exactly is like, I have partners and stuff, and these, like a lot of them go down to like net numbers and stuff like that. But so for like the end of day example, one of an operations, we have gross rev, net, new versus active, ad expense, refund, apps, bookings, new customers, cost, and then cost per across those. And then, so that's like across the top. So you're going to have like yesterday, and then down here is the date ranges. Then you'll have a month to date actual, and then you'll have a daily average. So that's basically like if we're 7 days into the month, it'll take that monthly month to date number, divide it by the 7 days. So you have a rolling average. Then the next one is the trend. So now that you have the daily average, if there's 31 days in the month or 29 or whatever, you can then multiply by that. So you see where you're targeting. And then under that, you can have a goal. So let's say you're trending 2.1, your target's 3. You can then have up and down like red, green, if you're on track or not on track based on where you're producing for your averages. Okay. So actual, trending, or I'm sorry, daily, and then the trend line versus goal. So that's like a big one. And then we do that for month, we do that for last month, we do that for quarterly, and we do that for annual versus the prior same range. So like quarter over quarter, year over year, stuff like that. And again, there's other stuff in there like ad expense. Like, is that good or bad if it goes up? You have to determine like where you're at in your business. If you're trying to drive your spend down but get your rev up, which like, everyone is kind of, but at the same time, like there might be times and seasons where you're leaning into spend and you want it to be higher. So just making sure that you're identifying what's good or bad in your sheets. End of day, and I think you're probably referring to the sales stuff. We do end of day reporting. We do a lot of time forms that then submit into like a globalized tracker. Scorecard is a little different, and how I mean by scorecard is we actually have a manual one. I automate everything, but we almost got to a point where certain team leads didn't understand their own numbers because they were so automated. So now we have them manually fill them in a weekly ops tracker. So it's basically just like the main KPIs. You can look up EOS is a big system for that. They have a scorecard and they talk about it. It's like the main KPIs and drivers that are important. They're tied back to the goals that are both like quarterly, annual, whatever. Then they're tied back. So like call it a $1,500 CPA. Then week over week, the leader of that KPI, so in this example, it'd be marketing, will bring that to the meeting and we'll put it inside the tracking sheet. Everyone has to submit theirs before, and then we live show it. They like basically talk about their metrics. So it'll go by like sales, fulfillment, marketing, whatever. And the only time is it basically like lights up if it's out of KPI and it's like, all right, what's going on with this? And you just kind of quick talk on that or dive deeper offshoot. So hopefully that was helpful, but I can probably build some templates. It would just take some time to build out. And like candidly, when I do these videos, they're just like off the rip. I don't do a ton of prep. I would have to like full build new templates because I don't want to give away numbers just because it's like that kind of number. It's just too in depth for what we're comfortable sharing. Growing a startup biz. What do you look for in a head of people, and how do you know a candidate is for acting of head of people is good? So I talked about this in another video when I talked about talent acquisition. I basically said just get ahead of people and then you don't have to do any of this because they'll do it and they're better at you than it. But so head of people for us was somebody that came from internal, and that's kind of something we say is like we couldn't hire for this position better than this person. There's no way. She's an absolute rock star. She came from within the business and was a coach, so did fulfillment, then like quickly led to or grew into being the head of all of the coaching, and then basically stepped up into like an operational role. And we were still like all over the board on like what needed to happen at like an operational C level, whatever you want to call it. We were scaling from 12 to 30. We needed help doing that. We tried to have a project manager. She basically led a project manager. And what really kind of came out was like she's good with systems and like SOP and mainly with people, not so much like the project management side and like structuring it in that way. So I actually absorbed that portion of it. So I lead that, and she is all things people, and that's where she thrives. So like super high IQ, super high EQ. So she'll do one-to-ones with the entire team. She has a relationship with everyone. So she's just like, very unique person. So you can look into this. I know Gary Vee has one, like a chief heart officer. Like it's a common thing. So it's basically like, I don't want to dumb it down and say it's like an HR director, but like it is that bucket of people, but like above that. So she has an HR director under her, so someone who does like the filings and the details and the payroll and stuff like that. But she is way more like future focused vision, connecting with people on an emotional level as well as like a KPI level, compensation understanding across the board. So it's basically a higher level that. In a lot of these small info businesses, it's gonna be someone who's just like has a high EQ and someone who's like emotionally aware and able to communicate with the people and navigate, keep the culture strong. If all of a sudden sales is low for X amount of months, like how do you keep the team there, culture? So it's that person. And generally speaking, that's gonna be someone who is almost like partner level, because it's just so tied into all of that it's going to be hard for you to hire someone of that caliber that's not going to be like broken off with a higher piece of performance. So she is one of the people that is like, one of the core drivers. She also leads fulfillment. So she leads all product, because there's not just, that you don't need a chief of people for 10 people. So we have 110, 20, whatever it is right now. And then she also leads all products. So you have basically fulfillment arm, sales arm, marketing arm, sales, marketing, fulfillment. Yeah, basically those three core. And then tech, but I kind of count that. That's me. But yeah, so she leads that entire department. So yeah. How you got your start in info? Technically in info. So I bought that consulting.com program. Oh, I never even answered that up here. So sorry about that. But how I met them was basically how I started info too. So I bought that consulting.com program. So Sam Ovens, who now owns and operates School. So I bought his middle level program. Joined it very quickly, realized that I didn't want to be the consultant expert face. I was not in a place and space in life where I would feel comfortable even doing something like this. And so I basically joined it, learned a bunch of stuff, and then never did anything with it, and didn't have like the wherewithal or understanding to realize that I could build it around someone else as the consultant. And he did. So he was building it around Nikki at the time, and he posted something in the group. I recognized his name from like other stuff when I was younger and like, MLM life and those days. He was really top tier, like distributor, sales, all that kind of stuff. So I recognized his name, clicked into his profile because he asked a question in like the paid community, and he had just made a post that's saying that he was looking to hire someone, bring him on as a right hand and teach him all the things, marketing, sales, whatever, and popped on the phone and like quickly learned that like, yes, I could learn a ton from this person, but we also have like we have a lot of similarities and a lot of different pockets of like expertise. So and then as we scaled, he is all marketing, sales, like he's CEO of that. And then she went into all product face. I went into all tech systems ops, but like the entire time understanding that we have so much overlap in terms of like marketing strategy, like understanding of the entire business, the entire ops of the business. So we have a ton of overlap there, but he like thrives over in sales marketing. I kind of thrive over in tech systems ops, numbers, finance. So yeah, so how I got my start in info was actually with them, and I came in and literally was building like sales pages when they were doing the monthly app, and I physically met them in person after working with them for like 3 or 4 months already. I was just like, we all are full remote, we still are, but they went to Bali and I flew out there and stayed with them for like a month in Bali, and just we worked and built and gymmed and did our thing. And that was when I got like full immersion of meeting them. And I was seriously, I was getting paid like $1,000 every 6 weeks. Like Luke jokes in some of the videos, it's like money came in, money went out, whatever was left, like, give Ryan some basically. So yeah, we were strapping it at that time. And then we decided to take it over to the call funnel, and that's when cash started like actually pouring. And then that was the conversation of like, okay, cool, now let's do some ownership and some like actual numbers of this. So yeah, that was probably 2019, 2020, because it was over COVID is when I left Bali, because I had to get out of there because country started shutting down. So it was around then. But sorry if you hear noises. I got a doggo in here. But how you made your first initial 1 to 10K and what you did with that to make more. I've never directly used money to make more money. That is something I don't have really a skill set in. Like the idea of, your money makes money while you sleep. I don't really have that. I've only built inside business. How I made my first initial 1 to 10K in life was like a service. I mean, I worked for my dad doing like, irrigation and shoveling sidewalks. He does landscape and snow, stuff like that, like in high school. So probably in that range is when I definitely got over 1,000. I don't even know if I got over 10. And then where I started making like actual money online was all service work. So it was building websites. I did some like actual in-person stuff. I'd build dashboarding units, which is actually funny, and sold those to basically set them up as dashboards behind TVs. So like build Raspberry Pis, put dashboarding software on there, build the dashboards, and then display them. I know I was making like 10, 20 when I was building those out. But all of it was service work. Everything's always been service work. It's never been... I never got affiliate and lead gen to crack to a level. Every time I got 2-3K a day in spend, and then something exploded and I just went back to doing service style stuff. Like I never leaned into any of those. Ecom, same thing. Like, last fall I did 100K in a month, just like messing around. It spent, basically 99 or 105 or something, like just break even. I've never had any of those directly do it because I've never stuck to any of them long enough. I've only ever done them long enough to understand, like to itch my curiosity. So what I did with it to make more, nothing. I joke around, if you like see me on X, I talk about the meme coin trading, whatever stuff. I mean, technically I have made a shitload of cash in crypto, but just buying big stuff and just like sitting on it, but not like actively trading. I mean, I've made like 100K in a day doing meme trading, and then I've lost, over a week and a half, I've lost 100K. So it's like stupid shit like that, but hopefully that answers that. Can you go into more details about the speed run section of the learning skills fast and how you walk through learning a skill, identifying good courses, coaches, and mentors? So yeah, so in this video, it's called this exact, it's basically how I learn. It's like learning to learn. But in this one, I talk about how to speed run it, you can pay instead of just like navigating your way for free online with YouTube and books and podcasts and stuff, and how you can identify these. So an example of this is I have another video called like Gurus something, and I literally have bought hundreds of courses. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaches, courses, mentors, and even if it's just for like a little nugget, because once you're at scale, like learning a little something that can get you a 1, 2, 5% lift is like 10K, 100K, $1 million, whatever, it stacks. So it's always going to be more than the 5K course or the 10K this or whatever. So what's an example of one where I did it? Consulting.com was a good one. When we decided that we wanted to go over to a call funnel, I bought the Sales Process IO course because it was all about how you set that up on like the CRM side. I had no idea how to do that. The tech infrastructure, the pages, the structure, the funnel. And then I bought... Alex Becker had a course at the time that was like a Trojan horse for Hyros that was very small and like tight knit, and it was around basically how to build the VSL funnels and how to actually structure the VSLs, and then how to do YouTube ads. So I bought those two at the same time. Literally got an Airbnb in Arizona, locked in during COVID for a little bit, and we fully built it and went live in like 72 hours. And that same funnel is what ran, and we got to like $500,000 a month or more. Well, maybe almost $1 million a month on that structure before we changed it over. So just from that, I literally just followed the blueprint exactly and did that. How did I identify that those were good? It's like, it's like anything. How does someone identify that your product is good? It's like case studies, results, someone who's done the exact thing and is teaching you how to do it. Both Becker, both Cosmo at the time, like these guys had done the exact playbook, had built it, had case studies doing the exact thing from zero to this. And it was like, that's the exact situation we were in. So that one's kind of hard for me to like, I get that question a lot actually, and I don't really understand how people don't know. Maybe it's like a gut thing, but it's pretty easy to identify for me of like who is legit and who is like full of shit. Like it's very easy for me to identify. There's definitely some that are like, whatever it is, smoke and mirrors, but you can tell, especially for the people who do content, the ads and stuff can be a little more misleading, but if they have good results, good reviews, have been where you have been and have got to where you want to be, it's kind of like this simple framework. And then always knowing that if someone has done it, you can do it is a big thing. There's all of this you can get for free. You're asking specific how to do speed run, but you can get all this for free. It just takes longer because someone who does it for paid, you're gonna value it more, a lot more, and you're also they already have structured it out in A to Z way as best they could in order to do so, versus you bopping around to 19 different YouTube videos and trying to pick up on pieces and parts. So hopefully that's helpful. But what's your biggest bottleneck right now, and what exactly are you doing to fix it? I should probably go faster. I'm already at 20 minutes. But what is your biggest bottleneck? And have you tried something before you thought would work but didn't? Maybe it worked, but not well enough. Biggest right now is sales, and we are solving for it. So we just brought in that new sales manager. I posted on X, got a ton of feedback, found the perfect person who has the exact industry experience, as well as industry experience, scale experience, like just everything. So like of our bucket of our target market, of the bucket of the level of scale we want to get to. A lot of people had, basically maxed out at 2, 3, 5 million a month in their sales career in their as management. The last one we brought in had gotten to 3 before, brought us from 1 to 3 rockstar, but like we capped at 3, and it's like, sometimes you think that that's, basically a cap of that, but he had other interests and other stuff. So it was like perfect timing actually. And he went off to go do his own thing. So now we have this new guy in. How long it takes for this to work and back out, I don't know. Hopefully a couple of weeks for it to start to take its like turn up, but we're already doing like, right now the big thing was consistency around sales. And for a long time it was marketing. We solved that with the CMO. Now we have sales and the CMO implemented different like acquisition methods and models that are built for scale and restructure all the accounts to be built for scale. So I think we're ready there. And then the next thing that'll break will be fulfillment. And that's why if you see what I'm posting, I'm talking about buying these books, and we're launching a Backend program. And I'm just trying to like optimize my brain for understanding fulfillment, because hopefully these two chief level marketing sales are so strong that, my brain won't need to be there as much. So I want to put it into the next bucket that's going to break ahead of time. I have a mobile app in the women's beauty niche, best makeup for you. What is the type of high ticket offer you're seeing work here? I don't know a ton about apps, honestly. Mobile app in the women's like best makeup for you. So when you think about offers, a lot of the time, like a very simple example is like done, like how a lot of people do this will be do it yourself, done with you, done for you as a scale of ascension through your offers. So like a higher ticket is back here, lower ticket's over here. So best makeup for you, I don't know what you're helping them solve other than understanding their best makeup. Like, because what you're solving for is the result. So like what result are they getting doing it here on this low ticket where they just do it themselves? Like you're just giving them the information and they have to do it. Think about the craziest offer possible on getting that same result where they don't have to do anything, where it's the fastest possible. It's all these things. So like you fly someone to them, they try a bunch of makeup on, they do all this stuff, they pick it for you, they make it in this way and whatever, right? Like extreme, I don't know, but over here, and that's 20 grand to do. And your thing right now is $27. It's like that type of journey. So what is additional things? And this is just with info. You don't necessarily need, that's technically like more of service work. So like you just have to figure out what you want to bolt on, because if you have what's the best makeup for you, could you build an entire physical product makeup brand on the back of that and then do it that way? Like, there's tons of review sites that what's the best makeup for you, and then they just plug their own products, or just get crazy sweetheart affiliate deals that they get, paid for life on recurring. Stuff like that. So higher ticket though is generally going to be a done with you style, or a done with you or done for you type thing. That's just the craziest thing you can imagine. And then just step it down until the fulfillment actually makes sense. And then it's like, what's the highest, what are they trying to, what is the result? What are they trying to achieve? And then make it as easy as possible. And as them have the highest believability that they're going to get that result. So if it's look beautiful for prom, if it is whatever, like, I don't know. I don't fucking know. But you have to go there and then step it down to what you could actually fulfill on that makes sense margin wise and is actually at a cost that people are going to buy that are coming from this. So as the ascension, hopefully that was helpful, but big fan of your content. Thank you, especially how you manage and build your systems around growth and productivity. I'd love to see a breakdown of your Notion dashboard and how you track everything from business to eternal. So I've tried these before. I always get like lost in it. I go way too deep, or I go like way too cloud. It's a big issue I actually have. So for me right now, it's basically to-do lists. So I have them broken down by like categories. So I have like a personal list, and then I have some stuff in there. And then I have like the company names. And again, like I said before, like for a long time, I was doing other side work because I wasn't as like, it didn't need as much attention. We were running one funnel, we were running one thing, we were checking on the numbers. Like I have so much bandwidth, and I was living in Puerto Rico. So I had like, 20 hours a day, or, whatever, actually it is like 18 hours a day of free time. And then this was only a couple hours a day because it just didn't need it, and actually did need it. I was not smart enough at the time to understand how to look proactively into the future and understand the numbers and understand where we were at. We were making great money, and it was just is what it was. We just didn't have the vision for the company that we do now. So I had a lot of free time, so I would do other stuff. So in my Notion, I would just break it down by different companies, what needed to be done, and then I'm like a calendar junkie. So everything that hits the calendar gets done, and so I always used to break that out. We use ClickUp internally. It's kind of like, it's okay. But everything I do is basically like database style view. So it's literally just like grids and then across with like the relevant data across it. And then sometimes I'm a big fan of like waterfalls. So things that basically like sub lists within those. So I'll do that a lot of the time. That doesn't work as well on a normal spreadsheet, but it does within like a ClickUp something. So yeah, I usually keep those and then run it all out of a calendar, but I could probably make something and show you what I use. There's a ton of people if you want to go deep, but there's like 10-hour courses on YouTube that talk about Notion and talk about like how to do these crazy setups and buy these, $1,000. That's another example of info. People do sell those templates and make $1 million a year. Just selling templates of Notion dashboards they built and productivity systems. The big one is called Lifestyle OS, I think. Maybe there's Notion OS now, but that's a really good one. I know a lot of people who use that. It's like their dream board. It's like this is your daily tasks, it's your check off. It has templates. You dupe it, and then it's the next day, and it auto logs. There's a ton of stuff and a ton of people who are much better at that than I am. But niche selection. So basically, I assume this means like if you're starting from scratch, how do you pick a niche? You want to pick something. It's kind of like double-edged sword, but you want to pick something that is relevant to you because you need to care about it if you're going to make it work. If you're going to push through when shit sucks, you need to like care about it in some way. For example, I have a buddy that is was a D1 pitcher for baseball, and we always like talk. We're like, yeah, you should do something in that because like he has a heart and soul for it, but like he's not interested in it anymore, so it's not as there. I have buddies that are super into hockey. I have buddies that are super into like HVAC and services work. So focusing in there, yoga, like one of them has like a yoga teacher friend, like all these things. So you have to be interested in it. Like I am interested in fitness. I understand the idea behind macros and strength training and these things. So like there is enough there. The other thing with niche selection is like, if you can pick from anything, like pick rich, pick one that's wealthy. It's easier to sell the wealthy. Pick one whether that's in business or consumer. So picking a wealthier one, picking something that has ROI justification a lot of time is easier, but not also necessary. Like fitness, for example, doesn't have ROI justification. You're not saying, spend 10K with us and make more. It's also like an FTC thing, so watch yourself. But that is a nice one. And then, yeah, just overall market size. So there are different monetization models that'll work on anything. So like, for example, life insurance. I helped a guy build a VSL funnel for life insurance, and he was an architect in his past life. So he picked architects because he could literally overlay that across everything. So it was like architect was in the brand name, URL name. It was completely throughout the VSL and like how he talked about it, the structure of it, how they talk about their angles and their this and their that and their designing and like everything. And then even down to like what the strategy session was called. It was like I don't even remember what it was called because it was so deep in architecture language, and it crushed. It was getting like $50 leads. It was doing all that stuff. They get on the phone, he keeps going through it, and he's like, oh, wait a minute. Like architects aren't that wealthy. Like, the 0.1% of architects are insanely wealthy, but like a majority of them are not. They make 55 grand a year. They do this and this. And his entire model was based around how you put like millions of dollars into whole life insurance and, retire off it. And that's how you get the big commissions as the agent and all that. So it's like he picked the right niche that he understood, but he picked the wrong niche because they were not wealthy. They were not the actual ICP. They were not any of these things. So picking one that has a market size and that has an interest level combined is big. Is really big. I'm also not a super fan of like selling to info coaching, which is kind of like, my niche basically of this. If you were to say, what am I picking? Mine is 7-8 figure online business owners, primarily info and coaching, just because it's my world and I can talk about it. But what I'm trying to do is not sell them things. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to like meet people and like mastermind and basically like make friends, and then also have a pocket of people when I'm looking to hire and when there's other opportunities. Like I'm potentially open to taking percents of deals and stuff like that into the future. Right now, like my bandwidth is tight, but yeah, I think that is not really that difficult of a question to ask to start. As you start to get into it, if you like really think about it, and picking one that's has a good market size and is good market size, wealthy, and you're interested in it, right? So hopefully that was helpful. Can you make a video going over the ad tracking sheet or overall marketing data, how you keep track of daily metrics from multiple sources and organize it all? Cost per lead ad, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so for this, you're going to have two. So first off, a lot of the time you do not want to store this, especially when you're beginning, manually. I just don't, well, actually that's not true. Because you basically want all of your spend in one place. So you're going to use tools like Adveronics, or you're going to have a VA or somebody update this with your daily spend from the different buckets. So you're going to have your Meta spend, you're going to have your YouTube, Google, whatever spend, you're going to have TikTok. You're going to track those and put them in day over day. And then you're also going to live feed in the different, like in this example, lead, app, call, live show, all those. You're going to feed all those into their own tabs. And then you are going to just go over ranges. So like yesterday you spent 10 grand, you got this many leads, you got this. Once you feed those in, you can easily divide across and get your cost per. It's super easy there. But when you start talking about multiple sources, this is where it gets a little difficult, because if you are running things at scale, there is a ton of touch points. Someone is going to watch and click initially on Meta, then they're going to Google you and they're going to click on one of your branded search campaigns and click into the website. Then they're going to book a call after that and then buy. It's like, where did they actually come from? And that's a difficult question. Is like, is it last click? Is it scientific, which is like what happened within the last 30, 60, 90? What was their first click within the last 30, 60, 90? So there's a lot of variation on that. We use Hyros to actually look at the journey. Great program. Kind of expensive now, I believe. I think it's like, I don't even know how much it is, but it's kind of expensive, I've heard. And then you can track this manually, but you're just logging it over and over again. And you can't look across those different ranges, except for, generally speaking, the first source, because you throw it in as like a UTM parameter. And then when you pushed it into your sheet on where the lead came from, it would say that it came from this campaign on Google or this campaign on Meta. And then you would be bucketing it to that, which just doesn't give you the full picture, especially at scale. So, but it is pretty easy to do. So you're just logging leads, apps, calls, and then closes. And then once you have those, you can just pull back to the initial source. If you want to do it in a sheet, it's pretty easy. I can maybe go over that too. I think I did make a video on this, like how you're going to pull them together. Actually, I know I did. It's like marketing 101 or something like that, marketing V1 sheet. And it's early on in the YouTube videos. You can look at it on this. If you look in this doc, it's probably right here. It's in one of these. Setting up a simple, this, number 6. So ad spend sales, this one. So if you look up number 6, you'll see like a very simple version of how you can do it on a call funnel, and you can do that on everything. How do you properly nurture leads before a call to have the highest likelihood of a one-call close? We have case studies, video testimonials, good sales process. Okay, so something is broken. So if they are weary to invest, they don't believe you in some way. They don't believe that you're as legit. They don't believe in themselves that they can actually do it because they don't have the certainty. They don't believe that it's going to work for them. They don't believe that your case studies are real, right? All those things. So we have case studies, video testimonials, and a good sales process. So what we will do, solve for a lot of things here. So first off, it's like, okay, they're booking. So at what rate are they booking, and is that a good number? Because if they're booking, they clearly like put out the time in their day. They're like, okay, I'm serious enough about this to book a call. So if that rate is good, how many are showing? If they're not showing, you are not doing enough in between there to warm them and do that. I have a video going completely into this, but essentially you're going to have multiple different touch points before they book and once they book, before they get on the call. So we run Jeremy Haynes's Hammer Them strategy. So we send them a bunch of like authority things, as well as video testimonials, reviews, everything like that. And we push all of those on Facebook or on Meta, on Meta to them, basically based on a custom audience of people who have booked but not yet been on the call. And so we'll hammer them with those, and then we also send them emails. And then you also have a pre-frame video that is our pre-frame page that's like the thank you page once they book. It's like, hey, watch this video. Hey, look out for the email invite. Make sure you click, unknown sender. Yes, cool. Add to your calendar. Watch these, and it's like 3 of the main pre-frame objections, and then it's just like a testimonial wall. So that's very important to do to make sure they have that. Then you're going to send them emails that are both content pieces as well as more pre-objection and testimonials. And then you're going to send them back to that page, basically make sure they do that. And then in messaging, you're going to have reminders to make sure that they do that. They go back to it. They're going to talk to somebody, either triage or a closer, or the closer they got assigned with prior to it, to basically confirm the call and then make sure they have the information they need and the right people are on the call. So you just have to do all of that stuff to basically warm them so they understand that when they're getting on the phone, that's what they're getting on the phone for. So I think that should help. And then, basically just understanding where the drop off is. And if it's a good sales process, weary to invest, like that's a financial objection. I don't know. You have to tell me what the objection buckets are, but like you can solve for that in the sales process too. So solve for the stuff before it. It'll just make it warmer, and then solve for this by finding out what those objections are, finding objection handlers that work for those, and then actually implementing them across the entire team. So hopefully that helps. Talk about different ways you can build trust within your follow-up series and ways you've used things. I think it's the same thing. Probably the same submission, right? Yeah, probably the same thing. So could you share more about tracking your finances, your P&L, and how you make capital allocation decisions? Yeah, so we actually use, similar to how I was talking about this marketing sheet up here, we use this for cash flow too. So we have one that's basically all inflows of cash, and then it does all of the marketing pieces, so like what's new, what's active, everything. So we have all inflows and all outflows into a sheet, and we're moving it actually over to like a database and proper viewer now that we're here, but we didn't this entire time. So yes, you can run $30 million biz through a Google Sheet with all the right zaps and automations. So it basically brought in all the new, then, or all cash that was coming in, and then was identifying what was new versus active, what type, and then also the sales rep commissions and stuff are tied to that. So that all comes in, and then all the outflows. So we have it then hooked up to our accounting software when there's new expenses or outflows that they would then push into the sheet. So we could basically have real-time cash flow across those and then do projections based on it. So in info and coaching, it's pretty cash-ish. Like you need to understand like your collection periods. We don't have a ton of that, but you need to understand your collection. An example of like using pay plans, how much money is to come into the future. And then also understanding that if you're, collecting PIFs and you have coaching, you have outflows of whatever, $1,500 that you're going to pay a coach over the year in monthly increments or bi-weekly, whatever your payroll cycle is. So being able to use those numbers to then project based on that, there's much like more legit ways to do this inside your accounting software and having someone do it. I am doing a full overhaul right now of our chart of accounts and things to break it down by department so I can have department level budgets, because I just want to make sure that we hammer that in before we go, 50, 100 million, because it's important to me. So capital allocation decisions, that one is kind of here and there. We don't really have anything that really fits in that bucket. Like if we were to develop a software, for example, like we would completely budget that out, talk about where we want to make that, why are we making that decision to do that, what we do, the expected return. If we were to do supplements, same thing. But right now we haven't really had a ton of those. It's been majority just like cash flow style business where we just, ate a lot of the margin last year, scaling from 10 to 30 because we fucked a bunch of stuff up, just straight up. So now we know and have learned what we know, and more stuff's going to happen again that we're going to learn, but hopefully that helps. So, and then how I track my personal is I actually use Simplify, and I've used Mint before that, but I just link everything. Almost everything that I have can be direct linked. I don't put any of the like crypto or stuff like that in there, but any of your cash accounts, any of your market accounts, any liability or loan you'd have, any vehicle, anything, you can basically link into those tools, and then you can see your own personal P&Ls. I don't think that's what you're asking, but I like that one. And Sam from My First Million talks about this all the time. He has one that he uses that's more intense, and he's, in the high figure, whatever, I don't even know, in the 8-figure range, and he uses that, and a bunch of people do in his company, Join Hampton, which is like a Vistage. So favorite paid or free resource for learning how to scale a book a call funnel. I'm sure a ton of people have course on this. I actually don't know who's like crushing it right now in like teaching info like Ovens used to. Ovens was a G about this. But free resources, Jeremy Haynes, he crushes, absolutely crushes. All he talks about is how to get to $1 million a month through call funnels, webinars, stuff like that. But a majority of the time they're call funnels, and he leans really, really heavy into the marketing side of things. So he talks like funnels and like actual running the ads. And to my understanding, like he might still run the ads. I'm sure he has people on his team, but like he understands it all at such a depth that you like couldn't get it elsewhere. So yeah, his stuff is really good. And then he has a paid like mastermind. I think he has courses maybe still, but he definitely has a mastermind that is all about this. So whether it's your marketing person or you as the marketing person, I know that's a great connect. But book of call funnels are pretty simple. I mean, you can watch a lot of YouTube video stuff. The core pieces are your messaging, your understanding of that, and being able to, properly have VSLs and headlines and applications that qualify. And then the rest is getting them on the phone, sales process. But the media buying side is huge, or I'm sorry, more the marketing side, not necessarily the media buying, but the marketing side of it is big because everything that's happening there is messaging and understanding of that. So hopefully that was helpful. I will think and maybe talk about this or ask and see who's the best of the best right now or who's teaching this. So love your content. It's a long one. Sorry. I would love for you to be able to help someone who's productizing their business from a standpoint of maybe they're hitting 100 to 200K a month already. Organic. Good. Their organic audience. Yes. Mainly on YouTube. So they've never paid ads before. They're heavily reliant on things like shout outs, affiliate marketing, referral marketing, going on podcasts. And I was wondering if you could do more building out systems and process for that to scale. So first off, that is traffic. That is scalable. Depending on the niche, like that could just be very scalable. It could either be more volume or more people. So like JVs, if you have 2 JVs and this is what you're getting, get 4 JVs or 4, it doesn't necessarily always need to be like paid ads in Meta. It can be a lot of these. Hormozy talks a lot about this, like the different types of traffic basically you can get, and it's like one of them is paid ads, and there's so many other ways, and like full businesses have been built off just like affiliate partnerships. I think it's the partnership with the company that does all the LLCs and stuff for like Pace Morby's stuff. Pace absolutely crushes it. Their entire business that he pushes over to the LLC company that does all like the company registrations and all that. And I think they do tax maybe too, but their entire business is all of JVs, all of affiliates. They haven't like don't do their own paid ads. They don't need to, and they still break on fulfillment, and like not in a bad way, like as in they're crushing it so good they can't scale fast enough. So they crush, but it's all of JV. You don't even need to do paid ads. So I guess you know when you should start running ads. Yeah, when you can hammer this further, and you just know that, like, I mean, if you know your numbers on this, the thing with paid is you don't know your numbers as easily. Like, you have to figure out your numbers. And but there's always a way to run paid ads. Like if you're already getting the source or information, like traffic and stuff, it's easy to just run retargeting for Google and Meta and just pick up like easy wins, because there's people who are coming to your stuff from those that have not converted that you already, you know, have on your pixel, assuming you have that. So yeah, I would set up retargeting for sure, just because it's like an easy land grab, 10x ROAS minimum. How do you know once you've got proof of concept? You know if this is working, I'm assuming, but I know you said you're not really an A to B, correct? What would you recommend for someone who's looking to dial their sales, marketing, their operations, product fulfillment, also not having experience in software? I don't know if I understand this, but if you're talking about just how to grow it and you're already doing this, do more of this until this is like not feasible, and productize this and systematize more so this. So you can just double this or more. Run paid ads as retargeting for this and get another lift on this just from these sources, but you're using paid. And then you already have proof of concept. Like it's working, it's selling. So I don't know what that means. And then what would you recommend for someone to dial in sales, marketing, ops, and product? Refine it, figure out what's working, optimize it, find the best buckets of things that are actually working, and lean into them. And then also just find really good people. There's so many people in the space like that I've learned after posting all this stuff and hearing, like, there's so many killers in marketing. There's so many killers in sales and ops. And like, depending on, I was actually thinking about this the other day, but depending on what your goal is, like if you're not going to sell it, which not, again, 99.999%, like maybe we can't even sell, I don't know, but they don't sell. So like if it's a cash flow game, it's just figure out your numbers. Like, theoretically, you can build it in-house and have it cheaper than an agency, but if there are other models where you can work with an agency and you're going to get a higher return than if you were to do it in-house, and that's what, and based on what you call what it costs to do it in-house, like in dollars and in time and management and like people and stuff. Like for example, in sales, we have like kind of mismanaged this and through people. So we have like this huge team that's then through people and W2 and this and that and whatever. And like, we need that because where we're going and what we're planning on doing. But if we weren't doing it the way we were and it was focusing on cash flow, there's a guy that does it for 20% and they fully manage everything. And like, you know that they're the top tier, you know that they're actually going to crush it. So like their output is very high and you just don't have to think about it. It's like there's very little mental strain, and it's just, you know, the exact number in the check. So you can do that with sales, you can do that with marketing. Over time, you likely want to build it in-house because you could get it cheaper, and you'd assume that it could be better if it was like top tier because they would only be dedicated to you. But there's some sickos out there who could do all these buckets for you. So hopefully that's helpful on there. And then you don't have an experience. I don't really know what you mean by software. I guess whether that be from rev share, or you could say like private equity. Yeah, I guess that's my question. I don't know if you're asking me to do this. I guess whether that would be for more rev share, you could say. If you're asking about these roles, yes, some of them could be, I always do profit share, not rev share dependent, unless you know your numbers well enough. Like sales, for example, would be on like net new revenue. Marketing would be generally speaking on cost or profit spread. So like new generated minus cost of spend, and there's the spread, and then they get a percentage of that. Operations is going to be profit, and product is going to be budgeted / profit kind of. That one's kind of harder, but so yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I don't know, DM me that and I can answer your questions. So 43 minutes. Sorry for going long. Hopefully it was valuable. I do all these videos every day. www.ronclogg.com/doc has all the videos I've done. I think I'm on day 60 something. And I sort them all by category: tech, marketing, ops, sales. So you can filter and find them easy. Our daily update is, yeah, we're just cooking. We're just crushing on, we're building. on sales. So that's the biggest lever right now. Marketing has calendars full at good costs. Fulfillment's ready. I'm doing a big build out, or actually the team is doing, I am not doing a big build out there. And I'm trying to sharpen my axe and learn things in that space so I can provide some value and have like context, and then hopefully distill some of that down to give resources to the team over there to find the right stuff. Cause I don't want to just be like, hey, go read these 10 books so you know how to do this. I want to read them first and then understand it so I can guide if needed and ask for also, and just stay within KPIs. So hopefully this is helpful. I'll get back to some more detail-oriented ones. I am out today, so I wanted to do this one early. So talk soon, guys. X and IG for comms. Hopefully this was helpful.